and welcome to the Bad Occult Aftercast. I am your host, Jen.
Hey, it's Felix.
Felix has decided to join me in the inaugural Aftercast episode after episode 18, Body Occupation.
That's right. We just came out of that one. We had a little bit of a break, and now we're back.
Mm-hmm. And we have a cat.
Mm-hmm.
We have a very special guest.
So, I've listened back to the podcast, and he is not audible.
He meows so much.
Outside the door.
Outside the door.
And is just muffled to where the microphone cannot really pick it up. But yeah, just constantly begging us to let him in. And it's just like, no, it doesn't work out.
Mm-mm.
So he can be in here for the aftercast, because this is not... He's not interrupting something we're trying to do.
Yes.
It's like, you know...
And it's, yes, the Bad Occult Podcast is in part a psychic experiment, but, you and Tyler are trying to limit as much variables as possible, and one of the very easy variables to limit is the cat.
Yes, it's potential interference, and it's a lot of potential interference, because a cat can be a lot of accidental variables introduced into a situation, because their tails flip around a lot.
Yes.
And it's a subconscious thing for them, so they don't even control that. That there introduces a lot of chaos. They can jump a lot of places. They can get scared very easily. Mm-hmm. Them in combination with random noise, it can...
Your whole mic, audio, visual setup could end up knocked over because of a cat.
Yeah, and same with plenty of other pets. That's why usually people don't bring their pets to a lot of these types of things.
Yeah.
Maybe sometime when it's just about cats, we'll see. But we've had to make sure they're locked down. Mm-hmm. If you do a lot of psychic work, you're gonna have that's gonna be affecting that part of your life too.
Yeah. This kind of stuff affects a lot of your life. So, surprise, it's not Tyler. Tyler's not the host of this.
That's right.
I am someone who has not been on the podcast yet.
So I should do the thing.
You're
right?
going to do the thing for me?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, let's go through the usual questions. Mm-hmm. And I know we're going to have you on the actual podcast at some point as a guest.
Oh, pish posh.
Well, it's true. So, what's your name?
My name is Jen. J-I-N.
Hey, Jen.
Hi, Jen.
What are your pronouns?
She, her. Sometimes they if I'm feeling fancy.
Ooh, fancy.
Fancy.
I get it. Sometimes I feel fancy too. And I'm like, what if I could pick a really exotic,
Zier?
Yeah, just really go there, and then I just don't feel like it, you know?
You have to conjugate all of the pronouns for anyone that you talk to.
It's just, and then they're going to start avoiding pronouns because their brain doesn't want to do the work. And, I don't know. But, what if...
It feels like a friend test to, just suddenly switch up your pronouns.
Oh, my
God. Let's see how many people actually keep track of this in 1 week. Now I'm going to switch back to he, his.
I will freely admit that I would probably need a lot of reminding because I'm doing some time traveling right now.
Yeah.
I've actually gotten... I fucked this up once because I couldn't remember which end of someone's pronoun change I was on, and I got wrong. It ended up being a really awkward social situation because the person I was with ended up pressing it even further. But yeah, I forgot which one was before and which one was after.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to ask about it in the moment because all of a sudden I because I remembered it and then I just unremembered it all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
Because then I was like, wait, which one was before? Which one was after?
Yeah.
And like, man, that was also a really methane thick time too.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway,
blame it all on methane.
I still have questions to ask you. Where is it that you're calling from?
The ship.
The ship.
I'm a space person.
You are a space person. That's one of the things I like about you.
Aww. I'm a space person that wanted to host this thing.
Yes, I really appreciate that. Like, was this your idea?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
we usually end up doing this anyways.
Yeah.
We do this anyways. We end up, like, sitting around, eating our food, drinking our drinks, imbibing in whatever we decide to chillax.
Mm-hmm.
And we end up just talking about the episode.
Yeah.
So I figure, why not just make it a thing?
I really like it.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is it that you do?
Oh boy. So, I am a mechanic, essentially. And so I work with a lot of different metals and stuff to repair, upgrade anything from like vehicle hulls to weaponry. I mean, nothing like very fine-tooled, but you know, if you've got some kind of like anti-air gun and it needs a new like safety rail welded onto it, I could probably do that. So, you know, that kind of fun stuff.
That kind of fun stuff.
That kind of fun stuff.
Is there anything that, like, you'd say you do on the Earth side?
I've been learning crochet. So that's been a lot of fun. Yeah.
Do you like doing that?
I do. I really do. Like, it's one of the things that I wish I could do more. Like, it's part of the body occupation thing is that, like, these wrists get very, like, sore very easily when it comes to the repetitive motion of crochet. So I want to learn more, but kind of limited. So I'm figuring out how to work some stuff on the ship so I can maybe do some stuff up there.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's, like, been one of the things that we've been trying to do is, like, get people able to, like, to do skill transfer and stuff.
That's one of the, like, really interesting things is that, like, depending on... Oh, wait till you're done. Depending on, like, the skill set of the body that you go into, sometimes, like, you can leave with skills. So, it's a combination of that and, like, basically just figuring out how to look up YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, YouTube has so many crochet tutorials. Like, if you want to learn how to do, like, a magic ring or a foundational, like, crochet stitch, like, YouTube has so many tutorials.
You did the crochet that was basically like welding something onto another thing, right? Like with the project that was done recently?
Yes.
Yeah, so like...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can...
Yeah, figuring out shapes and how they fit together. Mm-hmm.
That's so neat.
Yeah. So, hopefully, if we can get some good compression gloves, I'm hoping to get to amigurumi. Or
amigurumi.
Amigurumi.
Amigurumi, yeah.
Yeah. Because that's the kind of stuff that I really like to do, so.
Great.
Yeah. That's what I do down here. I do that, and then I just, like, help out with organizing and those kind of, you know, things. Because that's very important in this household, because there's so many.
There is a lot to organize. And I'm so glad that you like to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm so glad that you and Venom have been down here and doing so much stuff. I'm so glad that Lee and Edward have.
Mm-hmm.
And like, everyone has.
Yeah.
Like, Umbra and Mantis have been down here.
Mm-hmm.
Like...
And for those who
the
aren't
entire academy
aware, the pairs that Felix is mentioning are all people who are essentially married to each other.
Yeah.
Like, they sort of picked up the custom after being in these bodies. Like, I am actually married to Venom.
Yes.
And, like, one of the things is that, like, it's not something that's often done in space. But, like, after experiencing... having a relationship that we developed ourselves in on the ship, and then coming down and finding out, like, there is a psychic difference in being married and not being married.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you can actually experience in someone else's brain what it was like for them to be married.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. And so, like, basically after being down here a few times, you know, honestly, there were a few times where, like, I would be in Felix's body and Venom would be in Tyler's body, just to, like, sort of, part of the things we were finding out was, like, whether the like, bond would feel different, you know, and it doesn't.
Yeah, like, it feels different, like, you being in here is different, but when you're in here and Venom is over there,
it's
like,
the same relationship.
Yeah,
it's absolutely, you can't describe it.
There's a body feeling that I can run back, and that's the only thing I can really...
Yeah.
I could do an art about it, but it would never fully describe it. A meat morph.
A meat morph, yes. But yeah, so, you know, that's sort of a thing. And I'm not really sure if it's that you and Tyler are such good matchmakers, or you just, like, brought people together that ended up getting married anyways.
Oh, man.
But...
okay, so, like...
oh, no.
I spotted you and Venom first.
Oh, no.
I don't know exactly what was going on in the ship at the time, because sometimes our impressions of what was going on in the ship were apparently a little different than what was actually going on. But, like, we usually had a pretty good pulse. I think the first week that Venom was there, I picked up on you and him, like, hanging out together.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't remember if I told Tyler first specifically. I know it was, like, someone in both. I think it was Tyler. I was like, Tyler, guess what?
The cat is excited.
Tyler, guess what? He's like, what? I'm like, Jen and Venom. He's like, really? Jen and Venom? Like, yeah, Jen and Venom.
Oh, man. Yeah. So that's largely what this after party's for, or the Aftercast. I just keep calling it the after party. Is for these kind of conversations.
Well, like, yeah, because, like, we let, for a honeymoon gift, for a wedding gift for,
Mantis and Umbra.
And you and Venom, I think. And I don't remember if we've gotten to anyone else yet.
No, not yet.
We want to make sure that this is a good, like, it's set aside as a real good time for it. But we basically let y'all have a honeymoon down here.
Yeah. And, like, I mean, just the being away from the ship was so nice. Like, experiencing actual Earth gravity, consistent gravity, without having to rely on, like, electronics or, like, electricity or, like, any kind of energy generation to keep that stable. Because there's, like, micro shifts in gravity and other things because of, like, just minute power divergence to engines for, like, keeping stable in a certain quadrant of space will cause micro shifts in gravity. And being on a planet where the gravity is stable is an experience that, like, is very nice.
I feel like it's comparable to traveling in an RV. When you're inside a moving RV. Like, it's set up to be all comfortable, They've got all kinds of furniture. You can have all your nice stuff. You can even have your pets in there. But it is moving at 55 miles per hour on the highway, and when it turns, everything does shift sideways.
Yes. So you can't really account for that in like anti-grav or something. So yeah, like that's another thing that is sort of unique. Like I have vague memories of occupying other bodies, you know, for various reasons. But I can't bring up any who, like, both partners are open and willing to just be like, yeah, happy honeymoon, you get to occupy my body for a week, and guess what, your significant other is going to be occupying the body of my significant other. Like,
yeah, like, I think maybe this was in the unwritten escapades of Jane Roberts and her husband.
Right.
Maybe some people like that have done it. Maybe there's some occultists have done it. But, like, I don't know. I feel like all of the people who've done this before, it's, like, been very, like, maybe one relationship they focused on.
Yeah.
Whereas we're willing to let this be the Airbnb.
And I mean, not only that, but, like, allowing for, like, friendships and stuff. Like, I mean...
Yeah.
I hung out with Edward fairly often, like, and we're friends, like, and Venom and Mantis might hang out together, you know?
Yeah.
And have their weird, whatever their strange relationship is.
I mean, like,
they're friends.
They are friends, but they have a very interesting friendship because of, like, the position that space put them in.
Yeah.
To be quite honest.
Yeah.
I, like... Until very recently, Venom was basically the only Earthling on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like... And the whole gun thing happened.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, like... It's been really interesting. I've been trying to make sure that those two had a good relationship. Like, doing whatever part that I could. Because those two have been, like, hopping into my body pretty steadily. Mm-hmm. And so, like, that means that there's a shared memory base between the two. Mm-hmm. And also places to just, like, share notes, leave a note for one or the other. Like, hey, did you know?
Yeah.
Or, like, hey, why don't you... Or, you two are planning this, are you ever going to do it?
Yeah.
And, like, I really feel like... That's the kind of stuff that has been really important, is, like, really keeping track of relationships and paying attention to people.
Yes. No, it's definitely been about the relationships and, like, not forcing someone just because it's, like, you know, it's, say, for example, earlier on when Tyler was, like, talking...
Sorry.
It's okay. When Tyler was talking to Edward and not realizing that he wasn't you, Felix, you know... Tyler was not forcing Edward into your role, you know? He was letting Edward be himself, which is also something that I haven't seen very often. Like, often you feel like you have to, like, you know, hide in the role of, like, whatever person you came up as. But, like, Tyler, like, absolutely making sure that you're not feeling like you have to act like his husband is... different.
Yeah. Like, whenever someone first comes up in here, like, a lot of times they don't really quite know what to do yet because they've been pretending to be, like, kind of, they've been blending in.
Yeah.
Or they're not used to even the concept that whenever they come into someone else's body, they can just kind of do their thing and not really have to be under watch or, like, you know, just constantly attended. So, like, it takes a while, but it's interesting, like, when people have this period where they feel out, like, what do I enjoy doing? what do I like doing here? What do I want to do down here?
Yeah.
It's like been actually a pretty good example for me, 'cause I've been able to kind of be a bit more like self-deterministic, because everybody else has been showing such a good example.
Yeah, no, it's been very interesting. Like, I mean, we've alluded to it a few times, but basically, Lee and Edward, Lee is Edward's partner, husband. Now, yes, they're married. They actually took on like the majority of the work in November, and like we're here day in day out, and then Venom and I took over January, basically.
Yeah.
And just figuring out, you know, what people want to do, like to do, while also keeping in mind the practicalities. Like, okay, who is actually up for and available to, like, walk to the store to get, you know, groceries for the week or whatever. Or who's going to do the math to make sure that all the bills are paid, you know?
Yep.
Who's going to do this, that, or the other in relationship to the job, you know, those kind of things. So,
like, there's kind of some floating tasks that get done over in NOS, like cat box and dishes are like two that are really essential to be done, like, basically every day or every other day.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's like, hey, 3 different people have not been able to do this. Who is up to do the dishes?
Yeah.
And we'll find someone.
Yeah, and I think that's been the most helpful part, is the fact that, like, someone is going to be willing to do it. And it's not like anything where it's like we have to, like, bribe or threaten or anything like that, which is really nice. So,
yeah. I really appreciated it.
Yeah. So, you look a little bit cooked.
I was just about to mention I think it's going to be someone else next.
Yay!
Why don't I get Venom over here?
Oh.
We can have the world's first you two people talk in other people's bodies on a podcast happen.
Oh boy.
Whatever that's called,
now
and whatever that is.
Now I gotta figure out how to do the thingy.
Yeah, you gotta OBS me into that guy, because I'm gonna stop being this guy.
And I think this is right. I am learning OBS. There you are. Okay. Great. So, yeah. This is going to be part of the after party, is where we're, like, switching things out and being a little bit more chill. I love that the cat made a whole big scene and then he's just gone now. Like, apparently he needed his 15 minutes of fame. And now he's done with the place.
0.
Welcome. Immediately had to start coughing. Let him get settled in.
Yeah, there's been like, we had snow recently. There's been a lot of, like,
Cold weather.
Yeah, so that's been really affecting the sinuses over here.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah, they used a lot of brain.
Oh no, brain juices are running out.
A little low.
Oh,
also,
no.
there's a you know Mantis is going to come down, right? Because he got talked about.
I know.
The brain is preparing. I think it's setting aside a lobe just for him.
Oh my goodness. So, hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, my lovely wife.
So, what did you think of the podcast?
So, I didn't get to listen to it in order on the ship.
Mm-hmm. Didn't get to listen to it in order.
Yeah, so I kind of scrolled back through it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I might be one of the people who like comes down and actually listens to it.
Yeah.
His brain. We listen through it a few different times in here.
Yeah.
And different people have different opinions of what they hear.
Mm-hmm.
Or notice different things.
Yes.
So, yeah, oh my gosh, so, care of the body, paying attention to, like, what's going on. Sorry. Paying attention to what's going on with, like, the body at the job, and, like, understanding that you're actually sliding into a real life, and whenever you slide out, that real life is going to keep happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I got trained on that kind of stuff,
but
most people are doing it by accident.
Yeah.
And I got trained, like, basically, like, as an ethical, like, officer type person.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, there was, like, a huge emphasis on, like, you know, leave it the way you found it or better.
Yeah. You know, it's sort of the same thing as the nature parks, leave no trace.
But just from a practicality standpoint, like, the better you leave it, the better it is, like, the better off you're going to be.
Right.
If you're regularly going into a body that isn't yours, you definitely are involved in the causality of that body in some way.
Yeah.
You better check in.
You've inserted yourself into the fate line.
You better check in.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. It's kind of interesting to hear us commentated on from outside. Like, apparently we did pretty good upkeep. I do good grocery shopping.
Yeah, it's like one of those things to get used to is like being complimented for doing like things in the body.
Yeah, like
that's one of the things that I gotta say. I think one of the more successful things that Tyler and Felix have done is just positive reinforcement. I hate to say it that way, but like it's so true. Like Tyler, the most genuine person, will go and see that like the dishwasher is like all the dishes in it are in there and clean, and just genuinely turn around and be like, awesome job, guys.
Yeah.
And like you feel like the best person in the world.
Yeah. It really helps to be seen.
Mm-hmm. And not taking those small things for granted.
Yeah. I really enjoy my time down here.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really essential to have some kind of break time where you're getting in touch with, like, simple reality, doing chores or whatever.
Yeah.
Gardening, something like that. And, like, this is a pretty easy place to have that.
Yeah. Like, go outside, look at nature.
It's
like,
nice to be able to look out the window and see something.
Yeah. That's one of the things, like, don't take that for granted, you know, because, like, we're up in space and all we look out is either, like, simulated stuff if we put the blinds up, or the void of space.
And it's just not interesting.
No.
It's... I don't want to call it weird and creepy, because I actually, I am actually somewhat spiritually a Discordian.
Mm-hmm.
And so the void of space is, like, she's fine. But, like, you don't really want to stare into it for too long, or you're going to start seeing something.
Yeah. So, like, it's actually very helpful to us to be able to come down and experience things. And also, like, excuse me, get access to things like weed.
Yeah. Like, and this is gonna sound strange, though, dried mandarin peels, like citrus.
Oh my goodness.
A specialist alcohol that wasn't brewed in some sort of fuel tank. Fresh spices, stuff that grew on a tree once and wasn't made out of some atoms being banged together. A real bed in real gravity.
Yeah.
Oh man, the amenities.
Like, a lot of people don't understand that, like, yeah, it may seem like it's astral, but it's just, a lot of the times it's probably someone in space who's dreaming of stable gravity.
Yeah, like, I know astral seems very floaty, but it is actually, in space, it is floaty. It's freaking floaty.
Space is floaty.
It's actually a little barfy until you get used to it.
It's worse than seasickness, I hear.
I'm glad there were a few times I didn't understand I was in space. And I'm glad that I'm out of that phase. If you end up in space and you don't know when you're in space, you can think that you're tripping balls.
Oh man.
Like, I thought, I actually, I don't really know what I thought. It was during some of the more weird periods of thought in my life, but it was like I was on some Alice in Wonderland shit. Everything was floating around.
Some really fun psychedelics.
Where's that caterpillar? He must have put something in me.
So, yeah, it's very interesting, like, what people consider normal that we find so quaint or unusual or
novel,
special.
Yeah. Like, well, and
I mean, ceramics.
Oh.
You cannot have ceramics in space.
Interesting. Is there, for certain lab equipment, is there an allowance? Are you just very careful with it, or do you just do something else?
You
might have a different kind of material instead. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Because the clay, it gets really dusty.
Huh. Didn't really think about that. So what kind of stuff, ceramics-wise, does that make a difference about?
No, I was just thinking about the fact that, like, I didn't realize how many, like, plastic-type materials that we use until, like, came down here, and ceramic mugs. Like,
oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's, like, stuff that you could really, like, some of it you could just bake in an oven.
Yeah.
Like, you'd have to, like, for the better stuff, you'd have to go fire it somewhere.
Right.
But it's still not hard to do.
But that's not something that
you have to worry about it getting in the air filters. Yeah, there's like so much that's not there that, like, it is really like two different lives.
Yeah.
I like having both. I feel so lucky.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I love coming down here for the food. It is lovely to come down here and cook and have a whole kitchen, and I don't have to worry about any number
fumigation,
of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like smelling up the entire place with a bad experiment. Never hearing the end of it.
Oh, goodness. So, anything else you want to mention related to the podcast?
I don't know. I think it got I think it all got said. It was pretty interesting having that particular topic get discussed, because it's at the center of what all of us have been doing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's like been a topic of conversation since before the podcast even existed. Like, and it's obviously been something that we've talked about so much since then, because it's just so much a part of our, like, practical day to day. Like, okay, how many times are we gonna switch because this, and this need to be done, you know?
Yeah.
And, like, just figuring out basic energy needs.
It's like, you know, next, like, so-and-so wants to come up. Do you want to stick around, or does somebody else want to talk to them? You know, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like constantly organizing, like, one-on-ones. I wish I could put this on my resume.
I know. There's so many life skills we've been learning through this. All right. Well,
speaking of life skills,
I think I'm going to let Mantis come and get some donuts. That's how we're getting him here.
It's just the donuts.
Just the donuts he wants.
All right.
Later.
All right. Gets kind of rattly at times, so sometimes it's better just to mute.
Yeah, and this is like the less official one. Okay, I'm on my way out. I should stop talking.
Yes, bye. Alright. Venom going out. Mantis getting settled in.
0.
Hello, Mantis. Let me get you in your cute little space outfit with your little helmet. It's so cute.
Hey.
Hey. Mantis. How are you? Welcome to the after party.
Hey.
I'm sure you have stuff to say.
Oh my gosh. So I'm actually a little bit different here than usual because the fronting thing is a constantly moving goalpost.
Yeah.
I figured out some things on my own side of my own body and brain, and so now I'm kind of getting used to being down here a little bit more relaxed.
Yay! Well, congratulations. Yeah, that's something about body occupation that we don't really talk about too much, but, like, part of the reason why Tyler is not in his own body as much right now is because his levels of anxiety are too much for this body to handle.
I basically had an imperative to constantly be doing an old job that I have that I don't even do anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And imagine having to do that when you're in another body.
Ooh.
It was just getting
that
really bad.
Really
and I was so unaware of some of it.
Yeah.
Some of it I was gaining an awareness of, but it was like trying to understand it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I was aware something was happening, but not that.
It's so hard to do that, especially when it's like in your own brain or like, you know, your own experience internally. That's the difference. And so one of the nice things, I mean, like we've talked about it on the Nos and Vos have talked about it on the podcast before, but like being able to discover things just by being in a different body than usual.
You know, I should talk about this. I don't know how much I'm really going to be able to talk about it anytime else anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been having in my own body and not necessarily malicious, but unwanted and to me unknown about jumper in for at least months now and maybe a very long time.
Uh-huh.
And I am really just learning about it. So today's topic is very relevant.
Yes.
Because I've had a long-term occupation I am becoming aware of now.
Right. And that's something that actually, like, is easier to talk about now that we've, like, actually established norms around these kind of topics when it just comes to like Tyler and Felix. Like realizing that Tyler and Felix has this ability makes you realize that you and your own body also have the same ability.
Everybody has this ability. Every single body has the ability to be occupied. And they can do anything they want. It's not your vote, it's the body's vote. And oh my gosh, sometimes the body wanted the other guy in there.
Yeah.
Like that that was the last thing I was really talking about upstairs before I came down here.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've been having plenty of conversations about this with several people. Felix was one of them pretty recently in between coming down for the podcast. He's been checking in on me.
That's so sweet.
So yeah, I found out pretty recently that I'd been having a long-term occupation I was completely unaware of, and like Felix has talked to him.
Yeah.
Because this was an interchangeable with me person, so yeah, Felix has actually talked to him and was like, yeah, I wanted to talk with you about that because it seemed like you maybe weren't aware of some things that had happened, but I think that it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing, that the first thing you should learn, it's fine. I don't know what your actual situation is. Maybe there's something that's going on that's not fine. But, like, if you find out that somebody's been in your body long term that you didn't know about, and it's your body and you're you and your body, and they've just been in there, you, on your end, if you just found out about this, you're fine.
Mm-hmm. Because you're finding out about it. And that's very important.
In my case, like, do I wish I had done better security? I can wish that, but I'm not sure how it could have ever happened.
Yeah.
You never know about this for the first time until the first time happens that you discover it. And if we hadn't been doing this shit, I don't know if I would have ever found out.
No.
And that's pretty creepy.
It's mind-boggling to think that, like, some of the stuff that we are incorporating shipside as, like, regular habits and things like that are absolutely, completely, 100% influenced by an event that happened here on Earth. Like, to us, this is all psychic events. Like, when I go back to my body on the ship, it's going to feel like that was a very nice, very vivid dream or daydream or whatever that I had.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, it's not one-to-one.
It's not quite like plugging into the Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has a different experience of it. I have a multi-layered experience of it. Like, I'll get the digital stuff and I also get my own psychic stuff. And sometimes those come in a different order.
Mm-hmm.
Or, apparently sometimes I'm sorting out impressions from a completely different person.
Mm-hmm.
A really easy way to screen out some of that on your digital stuff is to just change all your passwords. Immediately.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I had a bit of a freak out.
Yeah.
It was actually not as much of a freak out as I even thought it was going to be. I think I'd been getting used to this idea for a while.
Yeah.
I'd been trying to figure out, there had been some things like, there's been actual hypnosis that I've been trying to figure out when it is that I put in. Like, and I truly was trying to figure out practically how that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And other guy, I don't like it. Other guy?
Mm-hmm. And, like, I mean,
somebody can come into your body that's a hypnotist.
Yeah.
I didn't really expect to walk into that place, but I live in that place. I am that place. Mm-hmm. I am the guy. I walked into Felix's body, and I'm a hypnotist.
that mirror. It's reflecting you exactly.
Me, I'm the man.
In the mirror.
So, yeah, like... But then I'll forget Rule 0. If I can do it, then any other hypnotist can.
Yep.
And probably has.
Mm-hmm.
Before I got there. So, I had to give up a sense of control that I thought I had.
Mm-hmm.
And
the thing is realizing that you didn't have it means that you can take steps to actually do it.
I'm still kind of semi-conscious on the ship side right now.
Yeah.
Grappling this.
Oh my gosh, you're always doing this. You're always double braining.
Oh. I have been told.
You have been called out.
I have been called out. It's nice to come process it down here.
Yeah.
Actually, Felix basically told me get down here, as well as a couple other people. So
yeah, no, it's always nice to hear from you.
I avoid it down here if there's stuff going on, and then that turns itself into kind of a recursive loop, and then I start recognizing that maybe I'm avoiding down here for other reasons.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing is, like, because I think Tyler and Felix's bodies and, like, all of us, Nosvos, all of us, are more attuned to a lot of things on a level that is very advanced. We're able to read minute details. Like the fact that you haven't been coming down so much is basically cue for anyone who expects to be in the body opposite you to be ready for some big thing you're processing.
Yeah, at this point,
because you usually use down here as a double check for, am I actually experiencing this?
I've tried not to do that so much. I don't want to just always be putting the brain and bodies through this.
Right.
Brains and bodies. But I do a lot of double checking. Like, am I safe? Mm-hmm. Am I safe for others? Mm-hmm. Because I've basically been trained to be a psychic ninja. So, like, do I need to go register my hands as deadly weapons at the nearest police department? But it's my brain instead.
Right.
It's just like there's really there's a lot of responsibility that comes with certain abilities that I have, and the way that I was trained to use them is completely fucking sociopathic. Like, that was how I was trained to use them. So
I mean, like, hypnosis should be peer-reviewed was kind of an intervention.
I'm so happy it happened. It was a nice conversation. I was wondering for so long, like, what anybody thought about some of those things. And apparently some of it was just fine.
Yeah.
And, like, there's, like, people are blogging now. I sometimes post on a hypnosis blog. That's unconceivable, like, a year ago.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's been a lot of good changes.
So, yeah, sometimes there's been another guy. And, like, I'm a very security-minded person. I also have self-trust issues. So, like, that can make it really difficult to understand what has been happening.
Yeah. If you're dealing with
yeah.
self-trust issues, it's very hard to realize that, like, not only can you not trust yourself, but you feel like you can't trust the other person who's, like, shows up in you.
But my body trusted that version of me to come over and do whatever for a certain period of time regularly for however long.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't tell me anything about it.
Traitor.
And I'm sitting with that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what is it that my body needed, or what is it that my body thought was okay about this, or like did my body feel like it didn't really have a way of conveying this to me, which was quite possible.
Right. No, like, towards the end where Felix and Tyler were talking about, like, just getting in touch with the subconscious and the body has a vote, that's something that, like, we're actively learning on the ship. Like, I'm learning that.
Yeah.
Like, the body has a voice and a vote. Like, never thought about that before.
And it's so weird for me because it's literally my job to listen to the subconscious and talk to it.
In other people.
You're
right.
Listening to your own is a spiraling subject of madness in the academia I came from. The best way to put it, and leave it there for now.
Yes.
But Venom started teaching me how easy it was.
Yeah.
Like, his phrasing for me was that when it comes to the subconscious, the subconscious talks to him.
Mm-hmm.
The subconscious listens to me.
And that's part of the issue is, like, if you're in your body and your subconscious listens to you, it's not going to talk to you as much.
That's the thing, is that any subconscious seems to listen to me. Mm-hmm. And so I've actually had to start getting used to the idea of that whenever I'm doing any sort of psychological operation, that I have to check in with the person more, because I'm very convincing. Mm-hmm. And I don't really understand that. I don't understand the mechanics of how, like, subconsciouses listen to me innately more, even whenever I'm telling them to do something absolutely garbage.
You're charismatic. And I think it definitely does come across over audio formats as well. You're charismatic.
I do not think of it that way, which is very interesting. But, like, I really care about the subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, to know just so much more about how it can communicate and does communicate and wants to communicate and could have been communicating. Mm-hmm. Is a whole lot for me to absorb. Like, I'm glad about some of these things. It makes what it is that I do, I think, a lot easier and a lot clearer.
Mm-hmm.
Less of a weird tangled jungle of, use induction format A/B for this type of approach, unless you've got this type of subject, in which case follow this chart here, and if you don't, we're gonna find you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, like, coming from a place of intimidation before, and here where it's all about building trust.
Yeah.
It's just a completely different
It's
place.
a very different modality and, like, just mindset. And sometimes it takes some time to get used to.
I really wish it were easier for us to have done stuff like this in the first place.
I really like to think of the fact that we're here and now because everybody wants this. It's obvious that, like, this would not happen if Tyler and or Felix did not want this.
It felt hard but it also was something that everybody absolutely wanted.
And, like, this has been a habit for longer than a lot of things that we've tried. Like, and that just shows how important this is to everyone involved. Like, we make time for it, we make space for it. It's obviously important.
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing the Aftercast.
Of course. So much fun. So, anyone else want to come on and say anything, or are we going to close this after party down?
I think Edward wants to come back on.
Okay.
Do a little victory lap. Did a good job of getting me to come down here.
Yay. Oh, he helped convince you too?
Well, he talked about me during the podcast.
Oh, right.
I was made an example of.
Oh, no. So you had to come down and say your piece.
Well, I mean, it took a while for Felix and I to establish some trust on something.
Yeah.
And I totally, completely understand Felix in that regard, and he totally, completely understands me in that regard. Getting to a total, complete understanding is, I think, what needs to be the goal.
Yeah.
And every step along the way is important.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Thank you so much, Mantis.
Thanks for having me down here.
Of course. Happy to have you. And like Mantis said, we're going to get Edward next for his victory lap with a very successful podcast. Very, very, very good topic. Like, I mean, I've been saying it several times, but this is something that, like, has been on the tops of our minds for ever since we really formalized this whole thing. And, you know, keeping track of this kind of stuff. And even making sure that we all understand what's going on.
0. Okay, there we go.
And there he is.
Man. I'm not used to piping in from right near where he is.
Mm-hmm.
They used to not be in the same location as us, so
yeah,
like being really near him, like where his actual body and brain is, being near where yours is actually as well. Wow, it's like a totally different thing. Just like getting the resonance of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we don't really comment so much on that because it's kind of like, I don't know, it feels like talking about the nuts and bolts of things, but here feels like a good place to talk about it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming up with such a good topic. Like, it's something that I think it was a good time for it too. Like,
it's one of the hardest subjects.
Yeah.
You only get taught this if you're in a very special industry. And, like, otherwise, I think maybe you're in, like, a special religion or something. Maybe you've got, like, you managed to be in a very interesting witchcraft coven or something. But, like,
yeah,
unless you manage to be in a very special group of people who's been doing this for a long time for some reason, it's really hard knowledge to come by training for.
Yeah. And, I mean, we've all sort of had to come up with the rules together.
Yeah. We've kind of cobbled them together, adjusting them as we go. Like, the grounding technique has expanded. We include the throat now. So it's now basically the chakra thing. we adjusted that because we noticed it was necessary. We noticed that checking whether or not the throat has a blockage in it is an extremely important part of like checking on the body that you just now started occupying.
I will say that like part of the reason why the throat was included was because of me. Because I was in the body in early January when we had a allergic reaction, and realizing that like checking in with the throat was very important.
Yeah, Nos was including it as part of checking into the lungs, but because Nos has like so many like problems with congestion, and like just realizing like, wait, those are two separate steps. Like like whether or not you can use your lungs and whether or not you can use your throat, like those two different things are happening there. So just like, you know, separating that out, and yeah, you're in the chakra zones. Guess what? That's I honestly think that there's a certain practicality to them that I think kind of just sort of shows itself.
Yeah.
Like there's a reason why this works, and it's simple.
It's getting the measure of the body internally and externally.
Yeah. I mean, the only other version of the chakras thing basically is if you're like sitting prana, or you've got like the cross legs thing. Yeah. And so it's like, you know, you got the sit version or the stand version. And either way, it's the same stuff going on.
Definitely.
It's just checking in with the body and where everything is. So, like, yeah, fun podcast.
Yeah. How is it being interviewed by Tyler twice in a row?
Wow, it's so fun being able to like follow up on things, and also just like, it's really nice coming in today because we've been really working hard on brain and body stuff in this household.
Oh recently.
Yeah. And so like, we found a few things, and did a few things over the course of this week that meant that I get to actually compare the experience of last podcast
directly, like the sound and everything. Yeah, because there have been some big changes within the last week. Yeah.
And so it's like accidental control variable. And you know, isn't it interesting that just lined up?
Yeah.
The one thing that's really hard to test when it comes to stuff like time travel is like, it's hard to set up anything normal that doesn't have it in it.
Yeah.
It's always going to be kind of special. And it's like, how do you do that the way that a lab wants it? I don't know if you do.
Right.
It's just kind of like that.
It's kind of messy.
The entire point of time travel is that it does things in a different way than that usual order of logic.
Right. So,
speaking of things in a different order of logic, I feel like I've expended.
Yeah. And it's been over an hour of the after party, so
yeah.
I think this party's shutting down.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for enjoying the Aftercast. I've been Jinx, I've been Jen, and joining me riding into the sunset together.
This is Edward, and I'll see you on the other side.
Bye.